Welcome to the Louisiana Restaurant Association's webinar with the Small Business Administration on the topic of Hurricane Ida Economic Injury Disaster Loans. This webinar is designed to provide you with the most up-to-date information on hurricane IDAs direct from the professionals at the SBA. Hurricane Ida delivered a devastating blow to some of our most vulnerable coastal and bayou chapter communities, along with the river parishes and the greater New Orleans and North Shore areas. We are joined today by the SBA's Louisiana Director, Michael Ricks, and the SBA's Public Information Officer, Shashil Kumar, who will walk us through the criteria, process, and answer your questions. We'll also be joined by Diane Scolfani with the Louisiana Small Business Development Centers, which is funded by the SBA and Louisiana Economic Development under Secretary Don Pearson. At this time, I'd like to ask Louisiana SBA Director Michael Ricks to unmute and kick us off. He'll be followed by Shashil Kumar and Diane Scolfani.
Yeah, good afternoon. Thank you for the introduction, and I appreciate everybody's time on the call today. And I know your time is valuable, so I'm hoping that the information that we present will be of equal value to the time that you're giving up with us. So thank you for joining the call. As mentioned, I'm the director of the Small Business Administration here in the state of Louisiana. SBA has 64 district offices across the country, and we're just one of them. And we do three things in the district office. And Diane, thank you for being on the call. Diane is a representative of one of the functions that we provide in the district offices, and that is entrepreneurial development, training, and counseling for our small business owners. And I've known Diane for years now, and she is, in my opinion, I go to her often, the subject matter expert on restaurants and hospitality service here in the state of Louisiana, servicing the New Orleans area. So I'm glad she's on this call. I can't think of a better person to represent that aspect of what we do at the SBA for this group. We also have government contracting and business development programs that we monitor, and that's through our Section 8A program, which is our economically and socially disadvantaged business contracting or development program, hub zone contracting program, women-owned business program. These are all certified contracting programs that we in the district office are responsible for. The third major thing we do, of course, is our loan programs through our participating lenders, through our guaranteed loan programs. Those are, by and large, something that happens on a regular day-to-day basis. So at any given time, of course, the rules change periodically. We have a lot of restaurant loans in our portfolio, many. A lot of lenders, the only way they will do a restaurant loan is with SBA or USDA support. So we're very grateful to them for that. But that's a guaranteed loan program, and that's through our standard product line. The fourth thing we do, of course, is to support the Office of Disaster Assistance in response to declared disaster areas. And, we have a standard briefing that all district directors are supposed to use, and we're supposed to talk about the three things that we do: contracting, capital access, entrepreneurial development. And then as a subset, small little letters in italics, also as required, disaster support. But here in Louisiana, we don't talk about disasters in terms of if we have one, but when. Last year we had 4 major storms hit the state of Louisiana. We've had multiple situations with flooding, not only in the southeast part of the of Louisiana, but all across the state, with Red River flooding. And when it rains really hard in Texas, we get flooded. When it rains really hard anywhere in the northwest of Mississippi River, it floods. So we have a lot of flooding, lots of storms. On any given day of the year, we have at least 3 open disaster declarations across the state. So to that end, fortunately or unfortunately, depending upon how you might look at it, I've become very familiar with Shashil, our speaker for the Office of Disaster Assistance. Just as a brief introduction, he is from Louisiana. He went to college here. He went to Tulane, and And, we love it when he comes back to the state because he knows our state really well. He understands the business and the particular situations that we have, particular to the state of Louisiana in terms of our laws and our tourism culture and everything else to do with Louisiana. So we're really glad to have him on board and glad to have him speaking today. So having said that, I will say one more thing. Of course, if you need any assistance from any of our programs, then we are the point of contact for that. But so Sheila is going to give you some what we call temporary support for IDA, ongoing support for COVID, all these things. Of course, if push comes to shove and you don't know where else to go, then you can call me. So thank you so much. And having said all that and overstayed my time, Cecile, the floor is yours.
Mike, love coming to town. Love working with you and Joanne in the district office. Got lots of friends now, ever expanding circle of folks that I love to work with. Diane, love working with you and Carmen. And of course, at the SBDC level, Carla and her team and Brian and so on and so forth. So it's a real pleasure being on here. LRA, thanks for having me on board. And let me start off the bat by saying, COVID money is there, IDA money is there. COVID money is for IDA money is for physical damages and economic injury. Let me start off by saying that up front. And for all those business owners on this call, all 37 of you, or in this case, 31 of you, you are probably a homeowner or know someone who's a renter or perhaps a renter yourself. And if you know someone that it runs a church, please let them know that nonprofits, places of worship, is part of our disaster assistance package. So businesses of all sizes, homeowners, renters, nonprofits. Let me start off a little different than I normally do with my presentations, which is COVID interest rates 3.75, interest rates for businesses on this declaration is 2.85%. And overall, guess what? The amortization is a maximum 30 years, and it is a cash flow loan. It really comes down to using that money to pay for product, for your people, for your working capital needs, as if the disaster didn't occur. Next slide, please, Wendy. And thanks for doing that for me because of my intermittent internet sessions there. Please, thank you. So this is our declaration map, guys. And what is our role? The SBA's Office of Disaster Assistance role is to provide liquidity, capital, not only for homeowners and renters to fix their home and their personal property, provide mitigation money, but also for businesses to take care of their damages, in addition to provide them liquidity for their ongoing business needs. So Diane might have a restaurant that is open, not damaged, but she can't open the place because the roads are blocked, her people are not there, and she needs money to pay her vendors because even though her revenue shortfall is acute, people want to get paid, right? And they're looking to get, where's my check? That's where we come in. So the deep orange area, you get both of them. You get physical damages, insurance recoveries, and the economic injury piece. The mustard looking color from Concordia all the way down to Vermilion is very specifically economic injury. So as somebody in St. Landry doing business with somebody in Washington, St. Landry cannot claim damages, whereas the Washington resident, parish resident, can claim not only damages, but also economic injury. Next slide, please. We are the largest source of funds to help private property owners to pay for disaster losses. Not covered by insurance or other recoveries are not enough. So the program is not only for the uninsured, but also for the underinsured. And our dollars, $2 million for businesses, 2.855 fixed for up to 30 years, no fees, no closing costs, on a different platform than COVID. And yes, you can have multiple loans, not just one. So you have COVID, you can also have Hurricane Ida. Next slide, please. We all know that the SBA disaster loans are a critical source of economic stimulus in a state such as Louisiana. My God, When I heard about Laura, I was here for Laura. Then it was Delta. Then it was Zeta. Then it was a winter storms, and now it's in the May flooding, and then here we are again. So, our loans require insurance to maintain the asset's value, not only for the homeowner or the renter or the business owner, but also to protect our investment in the form of a loan in the property. That reduces your reliance in the future with the federal government, because the idea is insurance is your first line of defense, any disaster. So by having an insurance policy, you're able to get the monies minus any deductibles. And oh, by the way, if you have deductibles, folks, whether it be business interruption insurance and or the flood part, we will cover those deductibles. Okay. By having an insurance policy, you're reducing the cost of federal reliance. That's what it comes down to, because it's a fairly substantial number. So we'll cover deductibles. And we all know that disaster losses are a huge financial burden. Interest rates, you're good, Wendy, you're good. Thank you for going to the next slide. You and I must have ESP, because I was thinking next slide and you did it. So as I mentioned, interest rates are below market. If you were to walk up to your bank and say, hey, Mr. Capital One, would you please offer me 2.8% or 2.85% fixed for 30 years, no fees, no points, no closing costs, and no prepayment penalty, and a grace period of 5 months. Capital One will say, it's not going to say what's in your wallet. It'll say, yeah, go do the SBA loan. Okay. And if you can carry a balance in what's in your wallet, then very clearly you can carry a balance with us, because this type of debt is based on cash flow. Okay. It is really a function of what do you have left over in the form of free cash flow as a business owner to service the debt, period, in the sentence. On a case-by-case basis, when we'll get into that a little later, we're able to refinance your first mortgage as long as certain conditions are met. Next slide, please. Bullet point number 1 is huge. We cannot duplicate benefits. Similar scenario with FEMA. Now, even though this is very much focused on businesses, I'm going to slide into the homeowners and renters area, because many of you might very well be in that category. So I'd like to offer a clear path for understanding that process too. So homeowners and renters on this call, your very first step is to register with FEMA. Second step after that, you have to apply with the SBA if you're referred over. Right now, the percentages of referral are between 56 and 60% of the time, which means you have a very high probability that you'll end up in the lane that belongs to the SBA. Why is that important? Because SBA, as we mentioned, is the largest provider of funds for privately owned property in the absence of insurance or shortage of insurance. If you have an insurance policy and you're expecting monies to come in, and you're a homeowner or a renter, you can assign insurance proceeds over to the SBA and not wait for the insurance check to come in the mail. I've talked to a lot of folks who are waiting for their insurance checks. You don't have to. Apply with the SBA. They'll increase the loan amount to, thank you, Sarah. Appreciate that, because we lost the host and we lost Tiffany. So sorry about that. So we'll continue with that presentation. So instead of waiting for the insurance check in the mail, SBA can increase the loan amount for the purposes of lending you the money, and then we get paid by the SBA, thereby making you whole. So the end result for you folks like yourselves is you get the money and you don't have to wait for it. So let's take Diane as an example. She has a $50,000 policy. Her settlement is $30,000. Depreciation, loss of use, deductibles add up to $20,000. She qualifies for a $20,000 loan from the SBA. If we have notification that her policy is being settled, we will then assign insurance proceeds to us, extend her the extra $30,000. This way she has a peace of mind knowing that she has the money, and guess what? She can go ahead and pay those contractors instead of waiting for the insurance check to come. And contractors are saying, I don't want to wait for you. I want to go for the sure thing. Someone's going to pay me. So Diane doesn't have to lose out on somebody wanting to come by and fix your property for her. Okay, so that's one of the reasons why you want to apply with the SBA and make sure you get your funds on time or fairly quicker than waiting for the insurance check. Now, if the SBA is not able to any way, shape, or form, lend you the money, and we turn you down, unfortunately, for delinquent credit, impaired taxes, that in other words, you haven't paid it, backs of child support, and or any type of criminal stuff that you might have on there, or you didn't maintain insurance on the property. Guess what? Those are all reasons to be turned down. And if you're turned down as a business owner, guess what? We refer you over to the SBDC, where Diane comes in. And this is a good time for Diane to jump in and state why her services are so much in want that everybody needs to set up an appointment to come see her. Diane, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you so much, Shashil. I just first have to say thank you so much. And, I feel like we're all family. I feel like we are family. And the team is really what I want to express in telling what we can do is the reasons why I work for the LSBDC. Just to start off with LRA, over the years, Stan Harris and all the team, including Sarah, have come to my culinary business classes. We had 2 of them that were from the Jazz and Heritage Foundation, and they came and Stan just told us the real story of being in the business. And the students just really, really appreciated it. So it has been a very long time that we have worked together and helping clients. And Shashil, I just want to give you one shout out. I spoke with a client just last night who said that she met you at one of the centers, the disaster centers, and what a pleasure it was to meet you. And you gave her great advice that we are pressing forward on her second business that you first inspired her to move forward with an SBA loan. So that's kind of how I want to get into this. The SBDC is actually part of a national association with the American SBDC. And we've been around a good 30 years, and a lot of people have no idea that we exist. In the greater New Orleans region, from 16 years ago, starting with Hurricane Katrina, my wonderful director that we were talking about, Carmen Sunda, brought me on because there were so many people who wanted to open up restaurants. And so that's how I became the culinary and food service business consultant. Since then, we have seen so many disasters, as both Mike and Shashil have talked about, through BP and all of the other floods, hurricanes, COVID, and of course now this disaster with Hurricane Ida. One of the biggest things that I do on a daily basis for disasters is really helping people just navigate. Everybody has a business to run, and now they feel like they have a whole job of just applying for things. So that's what we do at the LSBDC, is sometimes kind of hold your hand through Zoom meetings or whatever we need to help you apply. Then if for some reason you are denied, which many of you have experienced, we'll help you through that process, try to pinpoint what the problem is. Sometimes it's just something on the IRS report from your tax returns or something like that. And sometimes it's very, very simple. And if we can get to that point, we can go ahead and open up the floodgates to allow you to have money. So it's very, very crucial what we do. When I came here, I just ate it up with a spoon, because I could see the value that even on a regular basis without disasters, we're able to do real loan packages to help businesses grow. I work with very large restaurant groups that have several locations to very small, new, just getting started businesses. And it's such a pleasure to work with the association. As Mike was saying, and Wendy too, that we are sponsored by SBA. And we look to see if SBA is the way that you can go ahead and get a loan and get your business started. I feel that I can't make the lender give you a loan, but I surely know how to put you in the best light so that you can have the best chance for that loan to expand and grow your business. So it's, 14 years, about 1,000 clients in, of not just food businesses, but of course I specialize in that area. I work with a wonderful team of people who have other industries and other specialties. So I'm not the only one. It's kind of sounds like it, but I've been around long enough that I feel that we have a great resource, and please utilize it. It is free to you because of SBA, because of LED, and our host university is Xavier University. This is free to you, and please take advantage of all the services, no matter if it's during a disaster or not. We're here to serve. And the only thing that we want in return is for you to thrive and to build success stories. That's my favorite part, and just promote you and wish you well. Shashil?
Thank you very much, Diane. I appreciate the shout out. I love serving my community, whether it be Louisiana, which is backyard for me, or be the other states that I frequently visiting, Texas, Oklahoma, New Mexico. You know, this line of work is so satisfying because you're really making a difference in people's lives and their businesses and their homes. And being a commercial banker in my tenured past, the satisfaction of saying, "Hey, I made a $10 million loan," was great, and no doubts about that. But to say, "Hey, I helped a business owner through COVID," I mean, the satisfaction is completely different. So I appreciate the shout out. Thank you. There's a question in the chat box that says, does the IDA idle business loan also offer refinance? As you know, economic injury disaster loans are not meant to refinance in any way, shape, or form. It's only meant to keep a business afloat. It's a working capital loan. So it basically is for all working capital expenses. Okay. The business first mortgage is on the physical damages side. That by itself is because any type of disaster loan has a two-pronged attack, which is you can use up to $2 million maximum, use a portion of physical damages, and then use the portion of economic injury, or vice versa. If you don't have a mortgage, then you don't need to refinance. You can use entire sums of money for idle. Or if you need $500,000 for physical damages and the remaining $1.5 million is remaining for you, potentially your business can qualify. If you qualify, that the whole amount is yours for the most part. So that's the answer to the question. What other questions have you heard from the marketplace, Diane and Wendy? And I'll be glad to answer those questions.
Most people are still working on idle issues, I find, even over Hurricane Ida. They're just applying, so they haven't really had any follow-up yet. But I'm on a hourly basis working on COVID issues, and just like I was saying earlier, just anything that may be holding up the process. What our businesses, especially our restaurants right now, since they've been damaged prior to the hurricane, they need that working capital immediately so that they can go ahead and open and pay their people. And so that's the biggest thing. So it's not really a question, but that's what we're working on. And I know you're in the throes of all that, but that's what I see going on at the moment.
So folks that are waiting in line for whatever's happening with COVID, that process is different, distinct from our program in terms of the processing of it all. The time frame that we're talking about is about 4 to 5 weeks to manage expectations. It could be a little longer than 4 to 5 weeks if they have to go back and forth on your documentation. If everything is in line, it's no more than 3 to 4 weeks. So we want to say that, manage those expectations, because Louisiana has gone through so much. What is it? Laura, Delta, Zeta, winter storms, May flooding, and now this. So the pipeline is fairly vigorous, and we want to make sure that we manage those expectations. And any questions that they have, we need to go to the 800 number 659-2955. Okay, so any and all expenditures that you have on your accounts payable would be on this form. This is what we call in the industry schedule of liabilities. Any and all creditors, what you owe, how much you owe, what the balance is. If you're delinquent, that's okay. And what the maturity date is, and what do you pay, and what your accounts payable might be secured with. This is what we're looking to pay. And on here, you would list product, people, income taxes, your current portion, long-term debt you do. So your first 12 months of any type of indebtedness for fixed assets, your restaurant equipment, your 12 months worth of stuff should be on this particular form, and we can make those payments too. The only thing you can do, to go back to the anonymous attendees question is you cannot refinance that. So in other words, you can take 2.85% money and pay off 5% money. That's the key. Okay, so this is the part we were talking about. Loans up to $2 million, replace damaged real estate, machinery, equipment, inventory. Maximum loan is $2 million. You can add money for mitigation. Interest rates are fixed for the loan term and set based on the disaster date. Maximum loan term, 30-year, based on statutory maximums, okay? There's money available for mitigation. Up to 20% could be added. So if you want to raise your home, for those folks, business owners that are homeowners, seawall, some costs are permitting for the city, that's on there too. We talked about of the SBA and the SBDC. This is huge. If you apply with the SBA and you are turned down, we'll send you back to the Dianes of the world, the Carmens of the world, to help you craft a letter for reconsideration for the disaster loan so that you can get the monies that you need. Of course, the counseling services are free of charge. Here's part I want to share with you that I'm sure most of you know this. 1 in 5 businesses, 25% bigger than that, 1 in 5 businesses that stay closed for the first 5 days of a disaster have a 90% chance or probability of failure in the first year. In this New Orleans area, I was talking to somebody from the city yesterday. We've been closed for 11 days, twice that amount. So we don't want business owners on this call to become a statistic. Odds are against that happening, as a matter of fact, if you apply and get the money and pay your people. But if you don't seek the liquidity that you need, unfortunately, every day that goes by, visit the SBDC, they'll tell you what a day's cost of sales will be and how much you need to cover to break even. And if you're not breaking even, you're falling behind. If you're falling behind, catching up is hard to do with all the things going on. So please apply with Economic Injury Disaster Loan under the IDA program. This is our one-stop cheat sheet that explains, or I should say, a list, notes, all of the addresses that you can keep handy to reach out to folks, okay? Stop the share, and then we'll go on to the next slide, which I have handy also. The question about the deadline came up. The physical damages, Wendy, are October 28th, smack in the middle. The deadline for economic injuries is May 31st, okay? The working capital loans to help small businesses, and of course, we got aquaculture in our world. Any type of growth of aquaculture, that's part of our lending program. So if it's something on the storm side made it impossible for you to be engaged in aquaculture, that's part of our overall lending, if you will. The interest rates that I've been quoting are 1.563 for the home loans, 2.855 for business loans and places of worship, and most nonprofits at 2%. Don't pay attention to this because less than 2% of all of our loans are in this category. All this means is Congress has wanted us to break down how many people get money at the lower interest rate and how many people get the money at the higher interest rate. And traditionally, the split is 2% on the credit available elsewhere, and this is at 98%. If you're approved at this rate right here, all it basically means is that you have the wherewithal not to require a taxpayer subsidy. Remember, this money is coming from the Treasury. Unlike regular commercial banking deals, which requires an SBA guarantee, this is not money guaranteed by the SBA. This is money coming directly from the Treasury, okay? And this is the other part. If you get approved in this category with this interest rate, your term gets to be 7 years. That's all that means. So no heartache over it. Limits, $2 million, $2 million. Statutory limit for the business side. Home loans, 200,000. and then 40,000 for personal property. We cannot cover pleasure boats, airplanes, RVs. Non-compliance with previous insurance terms is an automatic turn down. If you didn't maintain insurance, you're not eligible to borrow from us again. We talked briefly about mitigation. We talked about refinancing. These are the conditions for refinancing, initial conditions, not all encompassing. Okay, 40% or more of the value, 50% of the value of the structure intends to repair. We can lend you money to repair your property plus pay off your first, stay below 200 in the case of a home, or 2 million in the case of a business. On a case-by-case basis, there is money for relocation. The word that comes out of relocation is involuntary. The reason it's involuntary is because Wendy cannot choose to pick up and go from 123 Main Street because she's been all along planning to go to 355 First Avenue because 355 has got whatever it does have. This is only meant to use if your area and your city has condemned that street for all the different reasons of condemnation. So involuntary relocation is most likely the reasons for the relocation to be approved. And last but not least, insurance requirements we're expecting it to carry. How do you apply? disasterloanassistance.sba.gov. If you click on it, there's your portal. Apply, and this three-step process is what is in the forms that I sent you folks. So apply for assistance. There's a different portal, as you can tell, from COVID-19, and you would accept the conditions. Put your name in. I already have my stuff, so my stuff will pop up, so I'm not going to click sign in, but go into SBA Connect, login.gov. If you already got an account with the federal government, if not, create one to make it simple. So that pretty much is the is my presentation. You can actually download an application, mail it in, but I wouldn't do it if I were you. It takes too long, and who wants to do that? So with that, the presentation is back, and somebody by the name of N. Mabry said yes. So she must be happy that we're back on our presentation. That's what I'm going to presume. Right, Diane?
Okay, we do have a question from a member that says, I am confused because it sounds to me like just applying for a new loan would be faster if we need liquidity. Additionally, can we use the $2 million to pay down existing commercial debt? I think that he's probably talking about.
So here's how I'll answer that question, Wendy. This is not a loan to address liquidity only. It is for solvency purposes too. As you know, the definition of working capital is the difference between current assets minus current liabilities. If you are a sophisticated customer that requires you to pay down $2 million in existing commercial debt, you know the importance of maintaining not only liquidity, but solvency, but statutes preempt commercial owners to use these proceeds to pay down a higher price debt. That's the only reason you would use this money, and not all $2 million is dispersed up front. It is very specific to the needs of your working capital in that specific time frame that you need it for. So the whole $2 million is not dispersed. I hope that answers your question. If you have a detailed question that you want to ask me, feel free to send an email to Wendy, and we can do a three-way, or we can do talk one-on-one. Not an issue. Thanks for your question. Oh, by the way, the part that I should have answered also, it just came to me, is that $2 million worth of debt that you're referring to, you want to pay it off. We told you that you couldn't, but 12 months of those payments will fall in the current portion long-term debt due, 12 months of it. Those can be paid from the proceeds of the EIDL.
We are approaching our time limit for today. If you have further questions, you can email us at communications@lra.org, or you can reach Diane, Michael, or Shashil at the contact information found on the screen. Thank you for attending today's webinar, and we wish everyone a speedy recovery.